Hey everybody, it's Pastor Tim
and Pastor Mallory
from ULC Fort Wayne, and welcome to the first episode of Unfiltered Love. It's going to be a video podcast we're going to do instead of kind of your traditional church sermon. We felt like those get so stuffy and kind of you talk over people and they don't get to really be involved. But we figured if we're going to be real and open and honest with you guys, we should have a conversation.
Right.
And you guys are 100% always welcome to chime in the comments down below, or join us on Sundays at 2. Because what we're going to start doing is we're going to kind of watch it together, and then we're going to discuss kind of what it brought up for everybody. And I think it's going to be a really cool experience, and we'd love to have you there.
Yeah.
You can find all the details on it on ulcfw.com, our website. So I guess the best thing to do is just jump in, because we're going to be talking kind of about getting to know us.
Yeah, it's the Getting to Know Us series. So this first one is going to be very early.
Yeah.
Kind of that Sunday school, elementary, middle, high school, and we'll probably stop about 20.
Right, a little bit outside of high school, kind of as we started to become adults. Because that's where our stories really get started.
Right, I mean, elementary, middle, and high school is all pretty much the same when you grow up in the exact same city and this exact same background.
Yeah, different churches, but very much the same upbringing.
Right.
So, I guess we're probably going to do this in a couple of parts, just so we can make sure that we get everything out for you guys. But let's just jump into it. So, as you said, kind of our elementary, middle, high school, kind of all blends together.
Yeah.
Very similar, but I want to bring up the one thing that is kind of going to be a common thread throughout this entire story. And it's a really accurate analogy that Pastor Mal and myself have come up with.
Yeah.
We want to call it the stained glass window theory. You came up with a lot of it, so I want you to kind of go ahead and explain what you mean by it.
So, when we talk about how growing up in the evangelical church, you kind of feel like there's a wall that is put up of you can do everything except for go behind this wall. It's not really a wall per se, because walls are pretty sturdy, and they're not going to break.
Right.
Very
and also,
easily.
You can see what a wall is when you're looking.
Yeah, you can see what a wall is. So with the stained glass window, it's more fragile. If you're poking at it, asking questions that people don't necessarily have the answer to all the time, or don't really feel comfortable answering.
Or don't want you to just ask in the first place because they know the answer, but they don't want to give it to you.
Right. If you're hitting at that, it's going to start to crack. So if you're playing with this window and you're not careful and you're not handling it the way it's supposed to be handled, it's going to crack, and eventually it's going to break and shatter.
Right.
So if you're doing that with your faith that the evangelical church is giving you, and not saying, here's this, let me explain it to you to where you can understand it, it's more of a, here's this, just believe me.
Right. And they focus on one panel at a time.
Obviously.
Because I'm sure some of you guys remember your Sunday school experience of, we talk about this one thing. And we talk about it for a while. And then we finally move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
While they're building that one thing that you're in, if you start looking around, they're like, no. Focus on this. Because if you're not on that next thing,
we'll get there.
It's something you can look through and see the difference. But
we'll get there. We're not there yet.
Yeah, those stained glass windows let in just enough light that you think you can see everything.
Right.
So, we'll get back to the stained glass window theory here in a minute. But I wanted you guys to kind of have a starting knowledge of what we are talking about when we say that.
Yes.
So, I guess we can say, for you, a big part of your growing up was your best friend.
Yeah.
That you knew basically throughout your entire school career.
Since we were 6, we met in first grade. It was one of those, like, we got sat next to each other randomly, and then just kind of hit it off. Super comfortable with each other.
God, I love elementary school kids for their ability to make friends.
Hi, you have a cookie? I have a cookie. You want to be my best friend?
Right. We're cookie buddies now.
Exactly. So it turned into we were inseparable. I was the only one who could pull him out of his desk when he was scared or upset or anxious.
Everybody's got that person in school.
Yeah, he was pretty much the only one who could make me laugh if I was upset.
Right.
He was the only one who could not annoy me all of the time. Because he was always with me. I remember in 2nd grade, we raised butterflies from caterpillars. And he cried because my butterfly stayed with me and his flew away. So he went up to my mom, and goes, "Mom, her butterfly stayed."
So, a very close relationship, as you can tell.
Yes. So then we get into 5th grade, and, we're in different classes, and the world is melting.
Yes, the end of the world for an elementary school student.
When you're about 11, if you've been there with your best friend the whole time, your world starts to melt a little.
Yeah.
And then middle school happens, and, he's not super comfortable with a whole lot of people.
Right.
I fit pretty much anywhere you put me.
Right.
I kind of start collecting strays like the Pokemon.
Right. But you made sure that you stayed with him throughout the whole time.
Obviously. He was still just at my hip all of the time, always me and him.
Right.
And then high school happened, and that kind of got different because I moved.
Right.
I moved up to the other side of town, which,
right.
in all reality, especially as an adult,
right.
not a big deal.
Right. But I think what we have to kind of bring up the context
It was the early aughts.
It was the early to middle. We kind of went through school through the 2000s.
Right.
We graduated in 2010.
Yeah.
So in our freshman year of high school, this was 2007. Not everybody had a cell phone, and if you did, it was extremely expensive to run, and your parents said, "You use this when I tell you you can," and it's nights and weekends.
Yeah, exactly, unless it's an emergency.
Right.
So it had to stay downstairs at my house anyways.
Right, you had to have it monitored.
It was my emergency phone. And then when I got old enough, my dad got me like a regular phone, and things were easier.
But long story short, you weren't picking up your phone and just texting it.
Right. That wasn't the thing that we were doing. And then after high school, he and I started getting closer again. I moved in with my sister, and we did the stupid late teenage girl things of jumping up and down on the bed, listening to music, because nobody can tell us not to jump on our bed.
Right. Again, very normal teenage girl things from what I understand of teenage girl things, but I'm a, non-binary, so I don't know.
Until you jump on it too much and it breaks.
Yeah, well.
That's fun. That's fun. So, in that time frame, he was there a lot, and my sister's now husband was also there a lot.
Right.
And then, one day we're getting ready, he goes to work, my best friend.
Right.
He goes to work, I go to take a shower, and I open the shower door, and there's just boy stuff.
So how did you know it was boy stuff? Was it like the legitimate for men? And it's like monster trucks and stuff on like the shampoo bottle?
It's the Axe body.
Okay, so like if you used it, you'd turn into a boy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll get onto pointlessly gendered things at some point, I'm very sure.
Yeah. So anyways, I call him. I'm like, "Yo, what is this?
Right.
Why is this here?
Why is your crap in my shower?"
Yeah. Oh yeah, I moved in a couple weeks ago.
I'm sorry, what?
3 weeks.
And you were unaware.
Yeah, a little oblivious.
Okay.
He'd been living there for like 3 weeks. Didn't realize it. It's fine.
It's fine. He also was very clearly convinced you guys were dating throughout your entire school career, but you didn't get it.
Yes, fair.
We'll get into that too.
Also then, we're doing this, well, you're living with me anyways, and we've always liked each other, been inseparable, so we're doing on again, off again.
Clearly there's that connection.
Yeah, we can't commit because don't want to lose our friendship.
Right. Scary.
Yeah, and then I meet my ex-husband, who is, our oldest daughter's dad.
Right.
Meet him and basically give my best friend that ultimatum of like, okay, look, if we're not going to do this... Right,
if we're not going to dive in head first and do this as a couple.
Right, then we're just going to be best friends.
Right.
And that's where we're going to stay, and that's just where we're at.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah. We weren't ready for that. We had a big fight, and we just kind of backed away. Didn't stop talking, but backed away, let things cool off. We'd see each other when we were at my sister's house, and, still poke fun of each other, but just kind of you have your space, I have mine.
Right.
We'll get there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you were getting to that point of kind of getting over the fight, but you weren't there yet.
Exactly.
Right.
So then, we get to the fun part, I guess you could say. The interesting part.
Yeah, we put fun in very big quotes here.
Yes, very big quotes. So...
Before you start, I'm going to put a trigger warning.
That's a good
here.
idea.
because there's a lot of very deep things that happen here.
A lot of hard things.
And if, you have any issues with trauma, I just want to give you the warning here. And if we get to a point where you can't watch anymore, please
totally
skip
okay.
ahead.
This is less traumatic.
Yeah, just look for the part where I'm just talking a lot, and you can pick it back up.
Yes. And if you are watching this with us and you need somebody close, there's lots of buddies.
Let us know. We'll get you
know.
guys. We'll get you guys covered. And if you're watching this at home, and you're not, meeting with us on a Sunday, please, if you need something, reach out. We're here.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So we get to this exciting part.
Mm-hmm.
I end up going to work one day like normal. Not feeling the greatest, but whatever, things happen.
Right.
So I go to work, working at Toys R Us at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as much fun to work there as you would think, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I go driving to work, and off to the left, I see lights and sirens and caution tape at a house.
Right. So clearly, crime scene going on.
Or something.
Right.
And everybody has that, oh, what's that?
Right. You kind of get that, squirrel.
Gotta know. Can I see something?
Right.
But it was more than normal for me.
Yeah.
It was that gut of, why?
So your normal gut feeling that anybody who knows you have, and is very strong, and is usually very accurate.
Yay. So
anyway, continue.
Yeah, so I go to work, still not feeling great. I end up getting sent home, drive by it again, still feeling that really strong pull. Mm-hmm. I'm living with Grandma at this point because
Grandma's awesome.
Well, yes, Grandma's awesome, but Sister has moved in with her now husband, and I've moved in with Grandma and all that stuff. So I go home there. Grandma ends up being super worried because Grandma.
Right.
So takes me to the doctor, find out I have strep throat, really badly.
Mm-hmm.
So they get me on antibiotics, send me home, and I go home and just crash.
Mm-hmm.
And that deep sleep that I get.
Right. Where nothing can wake this woman up. There's
marching bands could come through and I it's rough. Yeah. But I eventually wake up to my phone just blowing up.
Right.
And I finally answer it, and my friend's like, "Hey, get on Facebook."
Right.
Get up, go get on Facebook. I'm like, okay. Don't get off the phone with me. Just go log on.
Mm-hmm.
So I log on, and when I do, it's, "Hey, call your dad. Hey, where are you? Hey. Hey.
All over your friend's page.
All over my page, all over my friend's page, just looking for my best friend.
Right.
And that's not like them.
Yeah.
He always called his dad.
Contacted, reached out.
He always made sure somebody knew where he was supposed to be.
Right.
He was supposed to be at my sister's the night before.
Right, and never showed up.
So it was just weird.
Right.
Come to find out, that house that I drove by, that pole that I had, was because he had been shot and killed.
Yeah.
In that house a couple hours before.
Yeah. Just being a good person.
Just trying to help his friend who was just trying to get her stuff back from her ex.
Yeah.
And this guy just, without even thinking about it, took his life and my best friend's life, and then went up to the top of the stairs, posted on Facebook that he was doing it, and then took his own life.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure that was just earth-shattering for you.
Awful. So I finally am like, I gotta go. I get off of Facebook, I go walking out in the front room and just kind of stop.
Yeah.
My whole body just freezes.
Yeah, it's that system shutdown you get when it's just too much.
And I don't know how long I was standing there. I don't know where I was. It's all a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
But Grandma comes in and is like, "Hey, what's going on? You don't look right.
Right.
Are you feeling any better?" Trying to talk to me, and I just stopped and was like, "He's gone."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I read about it. I didn't realize that
realize it was him."
That was him. Yeah. So I sit down on the couch, still just nothing, blank slate on my face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have emotion. I'm not moving. I'm not talking. I'm barely blinking. Yeah. Just staring at the floor.
To give context, it's a moment of Pastor Mal that I've only ever seen once, and we've been together for 3 years.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to say that she hit that point.
Yeah. Even in really bad times, I can usually keep moving.
Yeah, no, you're usually very good. You keep me moving most of the time.
So in that moment, Grandma calls my mom and is like, you need to get here.
Mm-hmm.
So Mom and siblings show up, and my younger sibling is my other comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because besides my best friend.
Right.
So the moment they get there, I just kind of lose it because my comfort item is there.
Yeah.
Not item.
Person.
They're not an item. They're a person.
But
still.
Comfort space.
Yes, comfort space. Good job. So then Mom's like, come on, we're going to go. I'll bring you back home later. We're going to go out to my house. We need to stop by church and get sister real fast, but come on.
Right. Because you were supposed to meet your sister out at the church.
I wasn't going to because I was sick.
Right.
But yes, the plans had originally been
that you were supposed to meet.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That kind of changed of it didn't really matter if I was sick anymore.
Right, of course.
Sister and I needed each other because
she was just as close.
They got really close too.
Almost just as close because you just hadn't known him quite as long as you.
Right. So we're sitting off in our own little corner, and this isn't the church I grew up in. It's a church that was...
Right, the church you had moved to because it was closer to your mom's house.
Right, around the corner from my mom's house. Mom was trying to get back into church. So we're sitting over in our own little corner, crying, very upset when my mentor walks by, who you know.
Right, I do.
Or knew at some point in time.
I know of.
Yeah, so she walks by and asks me what's going on, clearly, because
there's
we're very close.
Teenage girls crying in a hallway. Well, it's not subtle.
No, and we're very close anyways, and so I tell her what happened, and it's just, well, maybe he should have thought about who he was hanging out with.
Just every time you tell me that.
I know,
it just blows me away, because, go ahead and explain as well who she was to you at the time.
She was pretty... I don't want to say high up, but pretty integral to our church at the time.
Yeah, she was the head of one of the departments.
Yeah, I think she was head of KidMin at the time.
Yeah, she was the head of the kids ministry.
Or co-head or something. I don't know.
But
I don't remember.
In charge of something to a degree.
Yes, and she was mentoring me to kind of take over at some point.
Right.
Because ministry has always been on my heart. I wanted to be a youth pastor
for
a very long time, which is kind of funny now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were very close, and her being like, well, he should have thought about who he was hanging out with no regards to the fact that I had just lost my best friend since I was 6, which is 13 years. Yeah,
and regardless of the situations of someone's passing, it's not something you should ever say to somebody.
Rude.
Yeah, and...
Yeah, but those little cracks we had talked about in the stained glass before that just kind of happened, there was like a big giant one.
Yeah.
Where there are pieces kind of falling, but nothing like broken yet.
Yeah. Right. Sent the giant crack up at like an ice age when he breaks the iceberg.
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of crack.
To make matters worse, I'm dating my ex, which wasn't my ex at the time.
Right.
Find out about our oldest.
Right.
Who was a whoopsie.
Yeah.
Love her bunches.
Yeah.
But she was a happy
She's
accident.
fantastic.
But
we all know happy accidents happen.
Happy little trees.
Yeah.
But yeah, so find that out in the middle of losing my best friend.
Yeah.
And I was just almost hitting 20.
Right. So there's a lot in the first 20 years of your life to really go through, and I think that really covering that covers kind of a beginning of seeing outside that stained glass window. Mm-hmm. And we had kind of talked about this before we started recording, but it was an end as well.
Yeah, it was the end of my childhood.
It really put that period on.
I mean, clearly we were out of high school, so like childhood had to end.
But it's that thing of, I'm an adult now and I have to deal with real big adult problems.
Yeah, it was the end of like, I get to live with my sister and jump on the bed listening to music and make pizza and tater tots every night if we want to. It was, there are heavy things that I don't know how to deal with because I never thought about my life without him. Right. We were 15 days apart because he was 2 weeks younger than me. Yeah. So it's like 16 days apart. I'm sorry. We were 16 days apart. So it's like I never thought about my life without him. It was always, he's just there.
He was going to be there.
He's attached to me, like,
yeah,
almost as much as you and I are attached.
Yeah.
And so now at 19, almost 20, I'm trying to deal with the loss of the person that I've never thought about.
Right.
While also figuring out how to bring a human into the world.
Yeah. And it's one of those moments, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, my mom can't fix this.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying I think it really kind of spells the end for childhood.
Childhood, yeah.
So thank you for being open and honest about that. I know we've talked about it 1,000 times, but it doesn't get easier. So thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate that we can talk about that stuff.
Yeah, of course. But guess what?
It's my turn, isn't it?
It's your turn.
All right. I guess if we're going to do mine, let's hop in a time machine and let's go a little bit back. Let's go back to high school. My high school experience was a little bit different than yours. I basically lived at church.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
I was in leadership pretty early on.
Yeah.
15, 16 years old.
Right.
I started on the worship team in our youth group, and then kind of through that, moved into the worship team in big church.
Big kid church.
Yeah.
Get it.
And every youth group had a different name for it. Ours was big church. Yours was big kid church.
Just like the big kid table.
Yeah, exactly. But with that being the case, I was actually out by your school a lot because we were right down the street.
I know, I drove by it every day.
Yeah, we'll get into the 75 times that Pastor Mal and I should have met
a lot
before we did in another video, I'm sure. But anyway, I had friends that went to school with you.
You had friends?
I did have friends.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
I'm so proud of you.
I had at least people that told me they were my friend.
Okay, that's fair.
But I'm
just kidding.
Kind of met this girl through a friend that went to your school, and I invited her to our back to school bonfire for my senior year.
You invited a girl?
I did.
That's scandalous. You're breaking those rules.
All the rules. But it was okay because I was potentially getting us a new member.
Ah,
so that was why it was
loophole.
fine. Loopholes.
Look at you.
But we hung out.
Snake a snake.
I am a little sneak snake. But anyway, we hung out the whole time, and you know this person. And we started dating from that.
Yep.
We did all the kind of prerequisite high school things. We went to prom together.
Did that.
She wore my class ring for a while.
Oh, I did that.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. I also did some things that, as a good church boy, I wasn't supposed to do.
Tell me more.
So, I did the thing that you probably are thinking that I'm going to talk about, is I lost my virginity in high school.
Does your mom know that?
I don't think my mom knows that, but I'm 30. Mom, what are you going to do? Ground me. Go for it. I live in my own apartment.
Call me.
No, don't call her. You're not allowed to ground me. I'm 30 years old. But anyway, it was a very serious relationship. We did a lot of things together. Our families actually got to know each other. I just kind of became a fixture at their family stuff, and she became a fixture at mine. Yeah. And so that went really well until about March of my freshman year of college. Okay. So, yeah, we were together for almost about a year and a half.
Yeah.
We'd had ups and downs, but every high school relationship does. We had times where we broke up to get back together 2 days later because I brought her favorite snacks out to her house and said I was sorry.
Been there, you leave Monster and a Golden Grahams snack bar in the
Exactly. I forgot about the Monster and the Golden Grahams, honestly.
It's the best breakfast, dude.
Yeah, that's probably why you had some of the problems you had in high school. You were sipping on Monster first thing in the morning, but we'll get into that another time.
Sounds good, though. But
really, in March of 2011, I was trying to get through my first year of college, which obviously is always rough.
Yeah.
And if any of you are in college, I get it. It's hard. I literally just finished after 10 years. So, don't have kids while you're in college.
I helped him with his homework.
Yeah, don't have kids while you're in college. They really screw up your schedule. But, anyway, we were in my freshman year of college. I was trying to finish up, and we just kind of hit that point that a lot of high school relationships hit. Mm-hmm. And it's that we're going in different directions.
Yeah.
Things aren't what they used to be.
Right.
And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't feel like that was okay.
Same as me and Ryan getting pulled apart in 5th grade.
Especially because of she was the girl that I lost my virginity to.
Right.
So I, being brought up in the evangelical church, thought, well, we've had sex. I guess I have to marry her.
Yep. Super healthy, by the way.
Yeah, extremely healthy. We'll get into all of those. But it ripped my world apart.
Yeah.
Because it was, oh, well, now I'm not with this girl that I did what our youth group told us was the ultimate wrong.
Right.
I had sex before marriage.
Right.
Obviously, years later, I have a very different stance on it, and I'm very appreciative for the relationship I had.
Right.
Because it taught me a lot.
Made you who you are.
It made me who I am, and it taught me to start seeing relationships in an adult light.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I was able to do that, and it was a good experience overall, but it hurt.
Yeah.
And that's when I started seeing my very big cracks in the stained glass window. Because I was seeing this end of this relationship that I thought was going to lead to marriage, but my world wasn't ending.
Yeah.
Not everything was bursting into flames. I wasn't being thrown to the dogs by my parents because I broke up with this girl.
Right.
And that's what I was told would happen. Is if you break up with this person, your life just goes to crap.
Mm-hmm. The blessings stop.
Right. And when that didn't happen, big crack in the window of, okay, so if this doesn't stop me being blessed by God, what does?
Right.
So...
I can answer that.
What's that?
Nothing.
Right, nothing.
It's no qualifiers.
Exactly.
Continue.
So I guess that kind of puts me at kind of the end of my freshman year of high school. Mm-hmm. That breakup sent me into a spiral.
College, not high school.
Yeah, freshman year of college.
Sorry.
Thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome.
But kind of sent me into a spiral. I was certain that was who I was going to be with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, end of my freshman year, kind of the summer of my sophomore year of college, I was just lost.
Yeah.
I was looking for anything with female parts that moved. And I was gonna get into a relationship with them, and I was gonna get that marriage out of it.
Right.
So I met a girl that was not healthy. I was not healthy for her. Mm-hmm. She was not healthy for me. I kind of reinforced some of the issues she had. She was one of those people that was so insecure. It was, if you ever go to leave me, I don't know if I'll live.
Right. And that's really toxic.
Right. And so that relationship went on for about 3 months. But I told her we were going to get married. Mm-hmm. And then we were partying all the time. Right. I was lying to my parents about where I was.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that story.
I made up a whole person to tell my mom about, that I was hanging out with this friend from college. Made a whole Facebook page for him and was lying through my teeth. Mm-hmm. And it took that girl from my previous relationship talking to me and going, this is unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
You've got to get out. And I was so scared of getting out because of the things she'd said.
Yeah.
Was that she was going to, potentially kill herself if I left.
And you never want to hurt
anybody. And I don't want to hurt anyone. And I don't want to be the reason for that.
Right.
You know me.
Yeah.
I don't ever want anybody to hurt themselves because of me.
Right.
So she goes, I'll go with you as backup. If anything starts happening, you let me know and I'll have my phone ready.
Right.
And we'll contact whoever we need to contact to get you through this. Luckily, none of that happened. And I was able to kind of get the breakup over with and leave.
Yeah.
There was some other things where my phone number got leaked and had to deal with some unwanted texts. So that whole relationship really just... That was when I changed my phone number to the one I have now. And I don't know if you actually know that at all.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Okay. But...
I just always forget that part.
It was just a toxic part of my life. And when I stepped back away from that, I said, okay, God, I'm going to recommit myself. Mm-hmm. Because that's what they tell you to do. Because if you stumble, you recommit and you go back to doing everything the right way.
Right.
And you'll be okay.
Exactly.
But what I saw as losing a blessing was actually a blessing in disguise, because it taught me so much. And so I think, okay, I'm right with God now. What I really was afraid of being alone. So I get back on the dating websites and I find who would become my first wife.
Knew her too.
Yeah, you knew her from school.
Why is it such a pattern?
Again, 75 times. And I started that relationship kind of around the same time that you were dealing with your best friend passing away.
Yeah, you guys started about the same time that me and my first husband started.
Yeah, and, I think that's a good place for us to stop with this part, because
we'll get into all of that.
It's going to be a lot more that we share from that point on.
Right.
And I think it's important to get kind of the perspective of where we were coming from, different places when we got into those relationships.
Exactly.
But I think kind of what I want to round this part out with is we give you that experience, not just to let you know who we are and kind of know where we come from. We give you that experience of ours to tie it into your own life, because none of us are alone. We've all experienced something similar to somebody else.
Right.
And I think it's important that we recognize that.
I agree.
And I think it's a very good point of, we look at those broken moments when we were just becoming adults, and they're really what shape our outlook.
Yeah.
And
not just our outlook, but how we move forward.
Yeah. And how we see faith.
And the decisions we make, and how we see faith,
and how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that we both left our teenage years kind of feeling down on ourselves.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And I want you guys to know that if you're in that spot, whether it's you're leaving your teens, leaving your 20s, heck, some people get it leaving their 30s, and you feel lost, just know that we're here.
You're not alone.
You're never alone. That's why we hashtag all of our posts with "You are not alone," because we never want you to forget.
Right.
We are here for you every step of the way. Do you have anything in closing on this part?
No, just if you need anything, feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
Our inbox is always open. We may not get it right away because, well, we work full time and we have to sleep at some point.
Right.
Eventually, hopefully, this will be a full time, but for now, this is where we're at.
Reach out to us. Text is always best because we can kind of get back to you as soon as we have the chance.
Right. Or we can do it in between things.
Right. So message us on Facebook, Instagram, find us on TikTok. They're all fine. Just message us and let us know what's going on in your life.
And if it's something that we can't help with, we will definitely find the resources and point you in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. We will definitely find those resources. Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps up at least this part of what we want to talk about. Please join us on the next part, where we're going to kind of dive into even harder parts of our life. But we want you there because, again, open, honest, affirming. We're here for you.
Join the 2 weirdo millennial pastors.
Yeah, and join us next time when we take the filter off and have these conversations.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
See you next time.